Hey guys, welcome to another video. I'm gonna show you today how to go from this to this. It's not as straightforward as I thought it would be. There's definitely some quirks, especially depending on which DAW you're using. So I'm gonna kind of unveil that. I'm gonna show you how to do this, how to get the multi-track output from Steven Slate drums, both in Pro Tools and in Logic Pro. Let's get into it. All right, but before we dive in, if you like videos like this, if you want to see more tips and tricks for musicians, engineers, and producers, then subscribe to this channel and make sure to hit the bell icon. I release new videos every Friday, and I'm thinking about doing more, so make sure that you click that bell so that you're notified when I release a new video. A few weeks ago, I made a video talking about how to make MIDI drums sound more real. I'll make sure to put a link to that video in the description, and if you're watching on certain devices, there'll be a card right about here, and I'll put it there as well, so you can check that out. But in that video, when we were using SSD drums, I talked about, the option that is the multi-track output, the different routing options that you have in SSD. And so today what we're gonna do is we're gonna show you how to use that multi-track output. And stay tuned if you're not a Pro Tools user, because I'm also gonna do it in Logic. Now, I don't know how it works in Ableton and Reaper and Studio One. I'm sure results are slightly varied, but hopefully this video will help you to really fully understand how in the heck to get this whole multi-track output thing to work. Okay, let's get into Pro Tools here. First thing I have is my MIDI track here with SSD5 on it, and I'll just play that from here. This verse 3 is a good spot. Just so you can hear, this is all tracks, all sounds, all samples coming out one stereo output from SSD5. Awesome, sounds good. Okay, so the point of this video though is to show you how do we get these outputs to be their own tracks. I want to be able to mix traditionally, like as if I'm on analog tape or whatever. I want kick, snare, toms, I want all that individually. And so I'm going to show you how to do that. Now there's two ways sort of to go about doing this in Pro Tools. And I'm going to show you both ways, and the last way I'm going to show you is my preferred way, so stick around for that. And if you're not a Pro Tools guy, please just hang with me. We are going to do Logic Pro as well. So what I've done here is, in an effort to save some time, I've made some aux tracks. So let's, where we go? Show and make active. Now I've got kick in, kick out, snare top, snare bottom, toms, all that sort of stuff, overheads, rooms. Now, you'll notice that I've got kick in track set to plug in SSD5 output 17, okay? And output 18 for the kick out, and snare top is output 19. Okay, let me show you what that means. So right now, everything's going out 1 and 2. Let's play it again just so you can see. Okay, nothing individual. It all has to get mixed here in the plugin. But if I click on this guy, I can choose which output I want. And in Pro Tools, you've got 16 stereo outputs and 16 mono outputs. Now, I've set up these aux tracks, and in this method, you can kind of have the mix capabilities, but you're always keeping your, instantiation of SSD5 active. So watch now when we play it, you're gonna see all the individual channels have their corresponding drums. Ooh. It helps if I set the output. So I would literally come here and I would go output 17 for kick direct, kick number 2 I want output 18, and so on and so forth. This one I want output 18, right? Snare top I want output 19. Because again, I'm pretending like it's a mono mic, it's mono, it's not a stereo thing, and I'll explain more later. But in an effort to save time again, I have made a routing preset. And you can do that here. You just click on this title, and what comes standard is 1, 2, and 3. Everything on one stereo, that's how it comes default. Any mono track to a mono output, and any stereo track to stereo output, or everything on its own stereo. Okay, there's different options. I created this preset called multi-track mix. All I did was I went through each of these tracks and I set it out what I wanted it to be out. And then, so let's click that. So now I've got my kick is out 17, my other kick 18, 18. Snare tops are 19, snare bottom is 20. The snare ring is 19. I want that to be part of the snare top. Toms, hi-hat, ride. I'm not really using the percussion. Overheads out stereo 2, rooms out stereo 3, and my SLR, which is like the rattling of the snare when you hit the toms and things like that. I have that on the snare top. So it's part of the snare rattle. It's where it would be. It's what Mike would be picking it up. Anywho, I want to explain to you for a second why I don't have anything going out output number 1. And that's because it's always going to be coming out. Whatever's output 1 is going to be coming out of this instrument track. And maybe that's fine if you're going to leave the plugin in the whole time and you're just going to mix. Well, then whatever is set to go out output 1 is going to show up here on your instrument, and everything else will show up in these tracks. So now that I have that set right, let's see what that looks like. Sounds exactly the same because everything is at unity. I did pan my things, like the hi-hat is panned left just like it was in SSD. My ride, although there is no ride on this, rooms, overheads are stereo tracks. Toms are panned because I've panned the tracks. Here it is. Tom 1, hard left. Tom 2, 41%. Tom 3, 46% the other way. And Tom 4, 100% the other way. Hi-hat, 100% left, right? But we're hearing it exactly the same because everything's still at unity. But what if you want to not have to keep SSD open, right? Again, you can leave it open. You could mix your whole song. You could start putting plugins on, on stuff and start tweaking. But no matter what, you're always going to have SSD running. Now, sometimes that's great. You can go in and you can make a change and you can decide that you don't like the snare sound and you can, go and tweak it anytime you want. I would argue, find a sound that you like, commit to it, right-click, hide, and make inactive, and get rid of that virtual instrument and just work with the audio files. Just like as if you had a tape machine and what's on tape is what's on tape, But to each his own or her own, that's how I would do it. But let's go ahead and show you the fastest way to get this audio rendered out. And here's how you would do it. You would then come, I've got all these aux tracks created. You're going to see in a second why this isn't my preferred method. Okay, I'm going to right click. I'm going to commit this track. Everything is fine. Let's say do nothing to the original. And boom, one or more plugin is on selected track support. One or more plugins on selected tracks supports auxiliary output stems. Would you like to also commit any tracks that are assigned to plugin auxiliary outputs? Yes. Okay, what does that mean? It's saying we see in this plugin that's on this instrument track that you've got things routed out auxiliary outputs of the plugin. Do you want us to commit those tracks as well? Which in this case will be kicks, snares, toms, everything. So yes. So let's hit yes. And boom, here you go. So now, see what it did? All right, there's a couple things we're gonna break down here, so stick with me. First things first, it committed the instrument track, which right now is whatever's assigned to outputs 1 and 2. This guy right here, which, as we talked about, is nothing. And the reason why I didn't assign anything to 1 and 2 was because then I got to come back here and I got to rename whatever I had out. Oh, maybe this is, you know, the overheads, whatever. Okay, I don't want to have to really deal with that, so I'm just going to right click and let's delete this guy. Boom. I don't even need that. Yes, I'm sure I want to delete that. Okay, but you notice something. What is different than how we had our aux tracks set up as? Everything is stereo. That is what happens when you take a multi-output or a stereo plug-in and commit it. It's going to render and commit a stereo file. So even though inside of SSD, the kick and was mono and the snare was mono and the hi-hat is mono, because it's panned somewhere, because it's routed to stereo outputs, it committed it as that. Now, some people are totally fine with this, right? At this point, you would then come up here and you could hide and make inactive your aux tracks that you created. And now you've got these stereo files. So let's see what that sounds like. We'll play from a different spot. Let's go big end. That sounds cool. Okay, there it is. There's the real audio. It's just that everything is stereo. So you've taken up double the voices necessary, double the track count, you know, which means if you're on a slower computer, it's gonna take up more resources. Plus, I just have this thing where I really don't want to have a stereo file on something that's mono. If you listen, let's solo this kick. It's mono, right? So it just means that now I've got 2 tracks. I just don't need it. That's the first way. Now let me show you the way that I prefer to do it. Let me get rid of this. I'll hide and make those inactive. Then I'm going to come here where I've created audio tracks. All right, here's my audio tracks. Same exact setup. I've got, you know, the input set to plug-in, output 17. That means it's output 17 of SSD coming into this audio track, and so on and so forth, all the way down the line. They're all just going to the mix bus. Mix bus has got a VU meter, and I've got a CLA mix down on. That's just kind of glues things together for it. So if I put all of these in input monitoring mode, we'll be able to hear. Let's do whatever, verse 3 again. Okay, just like the aux tracks, everything's coming in right. These tracks I've got panned, everything's set up. The difference is I have to record it in real time, okay? So I'm gonna show you what that is like. I'll take these out of here, and I'm gonna record this. I'll speed it up for the sake of video, and then we'll come back when it's done. Record and go. Awesome. So there it is. Here, let's make this smaller. And there's all of our audio tracks. Turns out there is no Tom 1 in this song, and there's no ride played in this song. So that's why those are empty. There you have it. Mono kicks, mono snares, mono toms, mono hat, stereo overheads, and room 1 and room 2. Actually, those are duplicates. I didn't need to do both rooms. Sorry about that. See, I'm not perfect. And this snare is way too hot. It was clipping. So I'd have to gain that down just a hair. And if you know me, you know I'm all about those levels not being too hot. Lots of videos on that. Make sure to check out all the other videos that I have. Subscribe to this channel if you're liking what you're getting so far. Okay, I think that's enough said on that. That's how you get multi-track output out of SSD. One was to create aux tracks and then commit it, and you got stereo files, and the other was to create audio tracks and record it in. So that's that. Let's jump on over to Logic Pro. All right, let's dive into Logic. Here we've got my MIDI track and of course SSD5. I've got it set up with the same kit that I was using, everything out one stereo. So let's play something here and see what that sounds like. Make sure it's all working. Awesome, she's working just fine. Okay, there's a couple things I want to point out. We'll get through this quickly, and then you'll know how to do it in Logic as well. First things first is the type of plugin that you're putting on. It's got to be the multi-output option, so make sure that when you come down here to your instrument, you've chosen a multi-output option. Now, this is huge, and this tip alone should cause you to like the video, because I figured this out the hard way. You can do stereo or you can do 16 stereo. Sorry, yeah, stereo or the multi-output 16 times stereo. None of the other ones are compatible with Logic. So you gotta just cut to the chase, use the multi-output 16 stereo. Now, how do you get this to bounce out to multiple tracks? Here's the key right here. Down in the mixer window, when you've got a multi-output, version in, you've got this plus and minus button, and you're gonna wanna add however many tracks, just like in Pro Tools, we added the aux tracks or the audio tracks. In this case, you're adding these virtual tracks that in just a little bit, we're gonna bounce in place. So to make things simpler, I wanna come back to the plugin, and just for the sake of time, I don't want to do every track and everything. So I'm just going to do like kicks on one, snares on one, a stereo group of toms, and then everything else. So I'll use like 5 outputs, and I just come here. Again, I'm going to choose output 2 as my first output, just so that it's completely separate from the instrument track. And so let me do that real quick, and then we'll get right back to you. Boom. Actually, I have a preset that I made, Logic Basic Multitrack. So I've got on my kicks output 2, my snares output 3, my toms are output 4, and hi-hat, ride, rooms, overheads, output 5. Okay, cool. So we have to create those tracks though. 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's actually only 4, right? So kick, snare, toms, everything else. I'll close this. Let's rename this. Kick, snare, toms. We'll call that kit. So let's see if that worked or not. Yep, worked just fine. Okay, now that we've got that separated out, the next step is easy. All you have to do is come back here to your main window, select this track, and I'm gonna go here, File, Bounce Track in Place. And right now it's asking us for a name. This is gonna be the name of the first track, so you'll see. I'm just gonna leave it how it is. We're gonna do a new track. We're gonna include the instrument multi-outputs. That's the ones that we just created, kick, snare, toms, kit. And we'll add them as additional tracks. And then let's hit OK. Boom. There we go. See, this is what that name was. So I'm just going to rename this to Kick. We are good to go. Now Logic automatically muted this MIDI region. So now we've got, in our edit window, we've got our 4 stereo tracks of drums. Down here in our mix window, we still have the original instrument and those virtual tracks, and then these are the actual audio tracks. So at this point, you could remove this and the virtual tracks, or you could just keep them there and come back to it later. It doesn't matter. Point is, we've got audio now, so let's listen to that. Boom, that's it. That is how easy it is in Logic if you know the 2 most important steps. Make sure you have the 16x stereo option selected, and make sure down in your mixer window you're hitting that plus sign. If that plus sign is not there, it's because you have just the stereo version of the plugin installed. So that's how you do it in Logic. All right, did that make sense? Did I help you? If so, leave a comment below. Let me know that yes, you finally had that light bulb moment, or no, Joe, you confused me even more. I don't understand what you said here or what you did there. Leave a comment and I'll try and chime in. I was a little scatterbrained today. It actually took me a while figuring out how to get this to work properly in Logic, because I'm so used to Pro Tools that it was just different for me, but I got it figured out. And so hopefully you can learn from my mistakes and just get right to the nitty-gritty. So awesome. Well, there you have it, guys. I do hope that this video helped you. If it did, or if you know someone that you think it might, share it with them. I'd love to just have people learning new things and getting to know the software that they have and how to use it to its maximum capability. All right, guys, we'll see you on the next video. If you like this video, then click that like button, I appreciate it, and subscribe to the channel and help support Sidoti Sound, and click that bell if you want to be notified when I release new videos. And of course, you can find me on all sorts of social media, so be sure to check that out. If you'd like to work with me on an upcoming project, then make sure to visit SidotiSound.com for more information. All right, guys, thanks a lot.